Hey friend, you are listening to the Pro Organizers Coach podcast. I'm your host, Samantha Brown. I'm a professional home organizer, decluttering specialist, and business coach. I created POC to empower you to reach new heights in your business. Through insightful interviews, expert guidance, and actionable strategies, we will equip you with the tools that you need to excel. This podcast is not just about tidying up spaces. It's about building a supportive sisterhood of passionate professional organizers. Whether you're a seasoned pro or you're just starting out, this podcast is for you. So let's do this. Welcome back to the Pro Organizers Coach podcast. On today's episode, I have Jill with me, and Jill has just recently launched her professional organizing business. Jill has raised her kids. She used to have a marketing job. She was PTO. She did all of the things as a mom and raising the kids. And now she's had a cleaning business for a few years. But she has realized that she would also now like to do organizing. And so, Jill, we thank you so much for being on the podcast with us today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So Jill and I were just chatting about where she's at in her business, and she said that actually last night she just had her first client. And so I was like, okay, hold on. Before you tell the story, let's hit record so we can share. So let's jump right back in, Jill, to where we were. So tell me a little bit about how that went with your client.
So I was really nervous. It's my first job walking in. I got this client off of some Facebook marketing that I had done on some mom groups that I'm in. So I had a consultation with her about a week ago, and we did a video consultation. So I was able to see her space and know what I was kind of walking into. So there was a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's a older home, so there's no closets. So there's a lot of bookshelves and just kind of stuff everywhere. So I walked in and it really went well. Oddly enough, her name is Jill. So I felt like that was such an appropriate first client to have.
Absolutely.
So I know one mistake I did make. I was, kind of nervous. I had sent her my agreement, but I forgot to even ask her to give it to me signed before we even started. So I realized one mistake I made, but it didn't matter in the long run. She did pay me at the end.
Right. And, those things that like those little things that we learn as we go, like that really is the only way to learn. And I guarantee that never happens again. Right. Because you do it once and then you're like, oh, that didn't work. Okay, now time to pivot. And then you just don't do it anymore because you've learned. So that whole like falling forward really is how your organizing business shapes itself. Like it just is.
Yeah, I would agree. Yes. Yeah. So we just kind of picked an area. It was her office area and just started, she was there with me the whole time. And I just kind of started giving her things. And we had a trash bag. We had a donate area. And we just kind of went through for 2 hours and we got rid of 2 huge black trash bags of trash. And I took a carload of donation items. So there was no really finished product because there's so little space. I think she is just looking because she wants me to kind of go through the whole house with her.
Yeah, no, you're actually perfectly on point. So this is probably 80% of my clients is exactly what you just described.
Okay.
Yeah, like the decluttering process is more of being a professional organizer a lot of times than the actual like Pinterest worthy bins, pretty, it's out there and depending on the area you live in. But for me in the area I live, like I said, it's like 80% of my clients we do it together. We just pick a space and we just start, one item by another going through. Because a lot of my clients, which is who I marketed to at the beginning, it was very intentional for me because I did it for myself. Like I was a very overwhelmed, stressed wife and mom and household. And once I did it for myself, and then I realized the weight it took off of me, which mine was never like super cluttered, but it was like kid cluttered, right? Like all the all the junk that comes with kids as they grow. And, they got to like preteen age and I still had stuff from when they were like born, it's just all the stuff. So I did all of that and got all of that off of me. And the weight that came off of me is what actually got me started, because I knew that if I could help myself feel that good, how much better I could help other people. Like I knew there were people out there stuck. And so that's who I marketed to. And so when you say there was not a finished product, actually, a lot of my clients reach out to me because my before and after photos are like a really cluttered room. And then I do the same angle for the after photo and you can at least see the floor, right?
Okay.
That's an after photo.
Okay. I didn't do a before and after. So it was kind of not just messy, but a little dirty. So I was a little concerned with I should have just done it anyways, I guess, but doing a before and after where it still doesn't look that great.
Right. A lot of my clients reach out to me because my after photos look realistic.
Okay. Gotcha.
So, because for our clients, the majority of our clients that are out there, they're at a pain point in their life, right? Where like they can no longer do it for themselves. They need help. And when they go and look on a website or a Facebook page or wherever, and all they see are these beautiful curated photos, they feel worse about themselves. So they don't reach out. And that's a very big disconnect in the professional organizing world with clients, in my opinion, which is why I started putting out the legit before and after photos. Okay. And it really has gotten me more business than anything.
Okay, because that is my niche. Okay, I don't want to do the Pinterest families. I really want to be able to do exactly what you're doing, going in and helping these families that just need help to feel better in their homes.
Yes.
So that's a good thing to know. Like I just need to put those pictures up there.
Yeah, and it's also good, right, to know it's always better to take the photo and not use it than to have not taken it and then need it.
Correct. Okay.
Because you never know what the after is going to look like until you're in the after time. And then if you've not taken the before photo, you're like, no.
Yes. Okay. I got you. That makes sense.
Yeah. And for her, even if it's not something you share because it's not like perfect or it's not good enough or the photo quality or whatever the thing, right, is you decided not to share. A lot of times we can use those to remind our client as we move along the process, hey, remember how it used to look like this? Like we have made so much progress.
Okay.
Because you're going to hit a point with her if you're doing the whole home where, and maybe not, but the majority of them, where you've made your way through, 3/4 of the house or whatever. And the very first place you had started is starting to clutter up again a little bit, or like life is happening. And, it's hard for them to just change their habits overnight. Right. And so because time has elapsed, all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, the office doesn't, look as good as, and they start to get down on themselves again. And so you'll hit that point where you have to remind her, listen, it may not be perfect, but remember where it was and how far you've come from there. And so just being able to encourage her in that is also a really good reason to have a before photo when you're working with overwhelmed families.
Okay. Yeah. I did notice, I feel like I'm going to have not a challenge, a challenge. So I can tell she wants to organize it and likes to organize. Like there's lots of bins all over, a lot of them not used, a lot of them that are like spilling over. So I'm trying to brainstorm how I can help her organize, kind of get behind, like you're talking about, get behind this process, because it's not just because you buy a bin that things are going to be organized. Right.
And that's why I tell a lot of people when they go do the consultation and they're like, well, how do you know when to buy the bins? And the majority of the time in my experience, I don't even have to, because they thought that buying the bins was going to fix their problem. And so they already have all these bins. Now, are they perfect and do they fit exactly like they should? No, but they already have them. And so a lot of times I like to go around and kind of gather all of the bins up in one area. So as we're going through the home and we need to find a bin, we can pull from that pile. But you'll just kind of have to find your like what feels right in the moment based on where she is and like where she's wanting to go. But I think being really realistic with her and setting her expectations of, listen, I know that like I can tell by all the bins and baskets that you love to organize, and that's fantastic. But right now there's just so much stuff in the way. And so we have to continue to go through and declutter. And that's just the process of what we're going to have to do right now. Because if I start trying to quote unquote organize and like file these things in bins and baskets and make them quote unquote pretty for you, it's still going to be overflowed because the amount of stuff in the amount of space.
Right. Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah. And a lot of this business, right? It's a lot like with the cleaning business. Because I've cleaned for clients too. So I understand where, you have those clients that you meet and at the beginning they're like, oh, okay, here's a perfect example. I have my most recent Rose. So the way you said that, your Jill was your first client, right? There was a Rose that was my first client. And then I had a Rose that was I think she was my third or fourth client, but my very first horrible client. And then I had a third Rose that I was like, okay, surely this Rose is going to like make up for the other two, And my husband goes, I cannot believe you even accepted a Rose as a client. Like that's how bad it was with the first two. And so I accepted the Rose as a client, and what she needed was more cleaning than organizing. And her and her husband were like in their 80s, and her son reached out, and like it was just this whole thing where like my heart broke for them. And so I said yes. So I get there and she's, telling me what she wants, right? And it's a lot like our organizing clients, where at the beginning their expectations are just like huge for what they think you're going to magically be able to come in and get done. Right. And this Rose kept telling me that she wanted her bathrooms like spotless. And I go look, and it's to the point where they had just had their home redone, but whoever did the grout didn't seal it at all.
No.
Yeah, so there was like black mold and like all of this stuff, right? And so I'm sitting there trying to explain to her and set her expectations of, you need a professional to come in here, like a grout professional, not someone just to clean.
Right.
And she's like, well, you're here, so still just clean it the best you can. I know you can do a really good job. And I'm like, okay, I mean, I can try, but listen, I can't promise anything. And I'm telling this story so we remember a lot of times it's just about the client expectations and kind of bringing them back down politely and nice, but also making sure they understand. There was no way with what I had on me that day, just cleaning supplies, that I could clean her grout, redo her grout, and seal her grout. Like that was just not an option. It's not what I do. Right. So then, long story short, I clean. I end up getting a text from her like a week later, or maybe not even a week, that she meant to send to her son. And it's the woman that cleaned did this horrible job. My grout is now like coming off in pieces because she cleaned it so much, and it still looks horrible.
Oh no.
And she accidentally sent it to me, and she meant to send it to him. And so I just kind of put back politely like, hey, Rose, I think you sent this to the wrong person. And then I sent her a grout professional's information, and I was like, listen, I told you that I didn't even want to touch it when I first looked at it. You asked me to, so I went ahead with it,
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And so it really just is about, communication with our clients. Like it's always about that communication and just being very realistic with them. And, sometimes it's a little better to under promise and over deliver. Not sometimes, always. Like it's better to kind of bring her expectations down But then when she sees what you are able to do, it's way better than what she ever pictured or what you even made it seem like, compared to, oh, I can make it Pinterest worthy for you. And then you do a decluttering session. And like you said, the only thing, not the only thing, but what you got done was that you can just see the floor, which is very
Right.
realistic. And that's actually part of the process of organizing.
Okay.
So do you feel a little better about that?
I do.
Okay.
I do. And it's, again, just to hear the reminders of the things that I need to incorporate next time.
Yeah. Yeah. And it really is, just one step at a time, like figuring this thing out. It was your very first client with your very first session, and it was not a Pinterest worthy project, So I think, even as professional organizers, sometimes we go down the rabbit trail of like all of these curated photos and these beautiful things where, people are literally throwing stuff out of the photo to where it's not in the frame, taking a beautiful photo, but then all the real stuff comes back in. These curated photos have made it seem like there's actually people out there living these perfect Pinterest lives, and it's just not true.
Right. Yes. And I guess it's good to hear this too, because I was very hesitant to put like these kind of photos on my Facebook, but just hearing what you're saying, like those are who the people I want to help, and that's what they want to see. They don't want to see the Pinterest worthy photos.
Yeah, because it's literally going to give them more guilt, right? Like, those times in your own life where you're looking at like the Pinterest, pantry, beautiful, gorgeous, or like Khloe Kardashian's pantry, right? And then you're looking at your own and you're like, ugh. Like it makes you feel bad. Like you're thankful and like happy for her that she's so blessed and beautiful and awesome. But deep down you're like, I want that. Like what? Like that's an option of a way to live life.
Right.
Well, it sure is when you've got millions of dollars and people constantly cleaning and organizing for you around you as you live your beautiful, gorgeous life. But that's not reality. You're completely on the right track and everything, like no stress, no worries. Like it's exactly going as it should. I promise you. Calling all passionate professional organizers. Whether you are just getting started or you've been at this a while, exciting news awaits. Our revamped professional organizers coaching community is set to launch in September, and I am inviting you to be a part of this transformative journey. But hurry, enrollment is only going to be open from September 1st to September 10th. We're taking our commitment to your success up a notch. For just $47 a month, brace yourself for an enhanced experience that's designed exclusively for you. Every Tuesday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern, we will meet. Throughout the month, you'll immerse yourself in 2 impactful group coaching sessions, 1 dynamic workshop, and a focused co-working session. As if that's not rewarding enough, the first Sunday of each month at 6 p.m. Eastern brings a bonus enriching group coaching session. And girl, we know that life gets busy, so we've got you covered. Our replay vault ensures you won't miss a moment. Can't attend a live session? Catch up on the replays at your convenience. Plus, remember, your membership fee qualifies as a legitimate business expense, making this a smart tax write-off. Our sisterhood offers unwavering support, accountability, and boundless inspiration. Your journey is our journey, and together we will thrive. You can find the links in the show notes below, or you can go to proorganizerscoach.com/join to fill out your application, and we will see you in September. So now on the business side of things, I know you had mentioned before we hit record that you're getting kind of stuck on the business side. So what were some of where you're getting stuck at?
So just keeping track of, let's say, business expenses versus client. I'm not even sure what I'm trying to say. I guess like just keeping track of like your business expenses and then keeping track of like money coming in from clients. Like, do you use one? I know there's so many programs out there.
Yeah, so I have QuickBooks, and it's really nice because it integrates to TurboTax, and like it integrates to all of the other pieces that you might need in your business. And it's got a really nice, easy app that you can literally, that like tracks your mileage for you, and you go in and just hit, was that a business or a personal trip? It's super inexpensive. I think it's like $15 a month or something. And the first like 3 months are free or half price, or, like it's really super inexpensive.
Right. And that's QuickBooks?
QuickBooks, yeah. And it's really, really helpful. I leave my mileage tracker on, and I just go in when I do have a session and hit business on that one. And then like once, every few weeks I go in and on my computer, because on the app, it's hard to like, you can only do like one thing at a time where you're marking, is it personal or business on the mileage tracker. So like once every few weeks, I'll go on my actual computer, and you can like, I've already gone through and clicked the ones that were business mileage. And so the rest of them, I just go through and like click them all and then hit delete and like, or personal, whatever, the button is. But it makes it to where it keeps up with your mileage deductions. When you connect it to your bank account, have you set up a bank account for your business yet?
I haven't. I'm actually going to do that shortly because I figured that I'm just going to start January 1st.
I would.
So I guess that would be the very last week of December. I'm going to set that.
And so what I would do if I were you, and there's two options, right? So there's an actual like business bank account. But when I went to my bank, they just opened me another checking account, and we put on the title of it DBA and then the name of my business. And I just kept that separate. So anytime someone writes a check to my business, and I connected that to like my Square app, where it goes straight into that one account, like everything needs to go into that one account. And then that one account is what I connected to QuickBooks, not my personal accounts. That have nothing to do with anything. And then it's only going to show you what's coming in and out of that one account, not your other accounts as you go through and set it up. And the other thing that I did that I found super helpful was I made sure it was a checking that had a savings. And in the savings is where I put my tax money, like the money I know I'm going to be paying for taxes at the end of the year. So I don't get to the end of the year and then all of a sudden I need to pay taxes or whatever, I would rather have extra money left over at the end of the year as surprise, here's some extra money, than all of a sudden I owe money and I don't have it in my account. And so I've had a few different percentages. I've talked to a few different accountants, and it's been anywhere from 25% to 40% of what they suggest that I put into savings for the taxes. And so it really, that first year, you just don't know. And so it's more of what you're comfortable with. Like, are you more comfortable with putting 25% in the savings, pretending that that's not there? And then at the end of the year, if you need to put a little more with it, fine. And you don't have as much left over. Me, I was like, I would much rather to have a bigger payout at the end of the year that's like a surprise. And so I did more of like the 35 to 40% just because of that exact reason. I'd rather have the extra in there. So it really just depends on what you're thinking. But that also kind of lets you know as you're setting your prices, right? Like once you go legit, your prices have to go up, just because if 40% is going into like immediately off the top before you pay anything, before you buy the trash bags, before the gloves, before you pay your gas. I mean, like the whole everything, if 40% is right off the top, just keep that in mind as you set your prices.
Okay. Back to the bank account. Why did you not do a business account? So this was just it's not considered a business checking account?
No. So the way that my bank explained it to me, it was like a whole process to do a business bank account. And it would take like 10 minutes to set up a personal account that I put as my business account. And I was like, listen, I'm just trying to do simple, easy, like whatever the easiest thing is what I want to do. But for me, I wasn't trying to like build this big empire either. Right. Like I'm just trying to pay the bills and, and help people in their homes. And so for me, it wasn't like super important, but I know for some people, it's more important for everything to be exactly precise in their business. So for them, it may be important to have an actual business bank account, and that's okay too. I just wanted the ones of us that aren't that particular to know that it was an option. At least at my bank, it was.
Okay.
You know, to just do a personal and a savings that
Okay.
on the actual title, I put the name of the business in their system.
Okay. And then from that account is obviously where you buy all your supplies, anything that's business related, and then like kind of quote unquote paying yourself. Do you just then transfer it out or to
Yes.
your
And on QuickBooks, it will like, so each time there's a transaction that goes through that bank account on QuickBooks, it will ask you, is it business or personal? Well, you know,
Okay.
if it's the only account that you have connected, it's, you know, business, of course.
Always, right.
Yeah. But then whenever you go to like transfer the money, it's going to show a transaction. So you put business, and then it has a tab that, which of course, speak to your accountant. I'm not giving accounting advice, but
Right.
what I did was there was a thing that said transfer. So it shows that the money's still in the business, but I'm just transferring it to a different account. That's how I did the savings part for those transactions. Then on the it has a tab that it says owner payment, or so like income is anytime someone pays you, you mark them as income, and it'll show it as a positive into the account. Anytime that you buy something, there's a tab that says materials. And then anytime that you pay yourself, there's a tab, and I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, but you'll see all the different options. There's like an option for everything. I think just remembering that it's part of the process. Like, you're going to get there. It's okay. If you make a mistake, it's fine. You will learn as you go. I did want to like kind of make sure to mention though, because you were talking about supplies.
Okay.
And if you're doing what you and I are doing, for anyone listening, if you're doing more of the decluttering, even if you're not, but especially if you're doing the decluttering more so than the organizing piece of organizing, you definitely want to make sure to get these, because I have, Husky. So the name of them are Husky, and you can get a 50 count of the 42-gallon contractor bags at Home Depot, and it's like $30 for 50 of them. And your business, that comes out, you know, you pay for that with your business debit card, of course, because that's a material, a write-off. And then I also at Home Depot grab a bag of gloves. They've got these like gray gloves that are in like a 3-pack. And I think it's like $5 for a 3-pack, or maybe like $7 for a 6-pack. They're kind of like $1 a pair, essentially, $1.50, something like that. But for me, it's so important to have those as an option to pull out, to put on based on what home I'm in. And so, but those contractor bags and those gloves, I keep in my trunk at all times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That was a hard lesson to learn, by the way. It took, it took someone else's. It was actually at Rose number 2's house. Funny enough. So she's got this gorgeous home. It's been in a magazine, and like, like one of those type homes, right? Like up on the hill, this gorgeous, you know, driveway. And, so I'm like, and I was so new to doing this, that I had the contractor bags that I had brought, but she insisted we use her bags. She had bags that she wanted to use, and we were decluttering her pantry that day. And there was a lot of glass jars of canned stuff, of not like cans from the store, but like canned items with like the glass jars with stuff in them that we were throwing away. So that got very heavy very quick. And we were not using the contractor bags because she insisted, and I was new, so I didn't know any better. And I learned this lesson by, as I'm carrying the bag out to the car, I guess a piece of something ripped through that really thin bag, and it just crashed and goes all the way down her big, beautiful, gorgeous driveway It's everywhere. Which would be
Not
why when
fun.
rose number 3 called, my husband was like, really? You're taking another rose? Like, there's something about the name Rose with me that it's like jinxed or something. I don't know.
That is funny.
Yeah. And so never again since that moment. And that's why I say, like, we live and we learn in this business. Never again have I not used my own bags ever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lesson learned.
Yeah.
Oh.
That was so embarrassing. Like, it was so embarrassing standing there. And then I had to start cleaning it all up. Right. And then she had to get out her water hose to like hose off the driveway.
Oh my goodness. I thought of another question. So back to my client last night. So
Yeah.
we left, she paid me immediately, but then do you do invoices?
No. So I've set mine up completely different than other people because of the type of sessions I'm doing, I guess. And because, again, I'm not trying to build an empire. I'm just doing session by session. But I've also turned that in my favor as a marketing piece when people call. So what I've done is I do 3-hour sessions because I've learned in 3 hours you can get enough of a chunk done that you feel like you've made progress, but not so much you can't walk the next day. And then at the end of each session, I also haul off all donations and trash. And so I use that as a piece of my marketing of why the price costs what it does. So we do a 3-hour session. And then after the 3 hours, I haul off all donations and trash from that day's session.
Wow, you take trash too.
I do. Yeah. And you don't have to. Like, you can say, I'll take all donations from that day's session. So for me, I put it in my pricing, right? Like, I took, and for me, I'm like, okay, technically I'm doing a 4-hour session. So I'm okay with this price for a 4-hour session. But then I pull it back to an actual 3-hour session. But then it's about an hour because sometimes I have to make 2 trips. I've got to make one to the donation center, come back, grab the trash, run that to the dump. But as I tell people, it's always something that they're like, oh, that's fantastic. That's amazing. Like, yes, that's what I want. Because for them, they feel like it's an add-on, like something I'm doing for them. And so it's just become part of the marketing, which it is an add-on. It is something I'm doing for them. I just made sure that the price for the whole session, I was just aware of that I'm really doing kind of a 4-hour session technically. And then when it comes to the invoicing, that's what you asked. So for me, I like to set it up as you owe me at the end of that day's work for that day's session, and a 3-hour session costs blank.
Okay.
Once you pay me at the end, like once we're done with that session, we can then set up another session. Or today, I do know we could at least use 3 or 4 sessions if you want to go ahead and get those on the calendar. And then that's how I kind of market it and talk to them as I'm doing the consultation at the end of the consultation. Okay. I was also going to tell you, so this is completely up to you, but when you're first starting, I highly, highly, highly recommend doing either a free consultation in home, like it has to be in home, and I'm sure you learned this with the video the other day, right? Or last week.
Yeah.
It's just not the same as when you actually walk in and see it and like can look behind like closed doors and kind of come up with a game plan in your head. Yes. And, one thing that I was just talking to a girl the other day that she does that I think is just as good. So she charges $60 for a consultation. But if you book a session, that $60 goes towards your first session. So it's an incentive to book a session.
Okay.
So that's an option to where you feel like it's worth your time. And even if they don't book a session, then you still have $60. So it was worth your time and gas to go. But for me, go into my free consultations knowing if I can get in front of them, have them show me their home and just sit down and have a conversation, I can make the sale.
Yes. And what do you do with those that want to just talk and talk and talk? Do you let them, do you try to keep it to a half an hour?
Oh, no, it's at least an hour.
Okay.
Yeah, it's never, I remember thinking that too, right? I'm like, 15, 20 minutes, I'll be in and out. They'll walk me through the home. It'll be, easy. No. Like you're looking at closer to about, I always tell them, plan on me being there about 45 minutes. I tell them that on the phone. So it goes ahead and sets up the expectation for when I get there. But then in my calendar and in my mind, I'm like, I'm going to be here an hour.
Okay.
But I tell them 45 minutes. So then it gives me that 15-minute window because
Yes,
it always goes extra because they want to sit and chat, which is great because you're building a connection, you're building a bond that they will then continue to use you anytime they need this service for the rest of their lives.
Awesome. That sounds good. I think that's it for now.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're doing amazing. Like, you're doing great. You're right on track. You're exactly where you should be at this stage of, you just had your first client, you've got your Facebook, you've got your business cards. You've already had a client, now you're thinking about the business side of things of like the taxes and, maybe a website at some point. I always suggest to people with a website, like it does not have to be this like 4-pay or 4-tab thing or anything like that. It literally just needs to be like very short and sweet information, the majority of it on the homepage, and then a contact form. Like that contact form is what's super important, is because they need a way to reach out to you.
Okay.
And yeah, a lot of people don't feel like someone is legit if they don't have a website nowadays. Like that's just how it is, right? Like we Google somebody and if they don't have a website, but if they do have a website, we automatically feel like, oh, it's a legit business.
Yeah. I did start through Wix.
Yeah, I was not able to use Wix, so which our brains may be different. You may love it. I ended up going with Squarespace because it was so much easier. I tried WordPress, I tried Wix, but that was also years ago. So maybe it's a different app now than it was back then. But for me,
Squarespace, is that connected to the Square payment system?
No, two totally separate things. Yeah. But I don't know if they integrate, but I don't think it really matters because they're not purchasing anything from you on your website. And the website, remember, this is something you're putting time into now, but I like maybe once every 3 months may go like tweak something on my website. Like once it's built, it's out there, it's done. Check mark. Right. And then you only have to change it if as you change, like your prices change or you want to add some more before and after photos or, but I use my Facebook page for my before and after photos once I got some on the website for the most part, because they don't know when those before and after photos were taken. Right. So once they're at least on there, then they can at least see what I can do for them. I also am a person that believed in just putting my price out there because for me, that weeds out the people that I would even need to have a conversation with about, like, that's a waste of my time, in my opinion, is to have all of these phone calls. Oh, what's your price? What does it look like to work with you? How much would it cost? No, I'm good. I'll put it on my website. They can see it and then they'll either call me or they won't,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I know that's my other thing on my list is my Facebook page. Again, I probably jumped a little bit too quick, but I definitely need some more before and after shots and content. And I have been putting my picture on there. I don't know why.
Well, because at the beginning it's super scary.
Right. I don't know what to wear, I guess. I don't know what to wear and I don't know what to take. So where to take it. So I keep
So I went in the woods and I took my teenager and I was like, all right, listen. And I took like four different shirts, right? And 4 different outfits. And I'm in the car changing and then like hopping out. And the most beautiful ones, one came from me sitting on a log, which was so random. Yeah. And then the other one came from me just like standing in front of this tree. Another, like, they were so random, the ones that turned out good, right?
Okay.
And so it really is just like just go out there, take as many photos as you possibly can kind of thing, and then just go through them and decide which ones you like. Yeah. And, just make it fun. Like, you should see me. So I remember there was this one day that my teenagers were like in school or, I was by myself. And so I'm like, I can take this photo. Like, I need photos. And so I went and I did the whole like 10-second thing where you can set it up on your phone. And then I would run, and then I would pose, and then I'd run back and I'd see, and then it would be like, a piece of my hand or like it was so bad. So bad. And I'm
Oh,
sitting there with like this jacket and blanket on top of this like it was a picnic table because the phone needs to be up high enough to where it looks like it's a good angle, and like the phone kept falling off onto the ground. I mean, it was just this whole mess. So like point
yeah,
being is we have all of us have been there, and
right.
every one of us, like over that first photo we put out, we're like, oh my gosh, like it's
Mhm.
and no one
I
else even
know.
pays attention.
I know, but I know I need to get that because obviously there's quite a few people that aren't on Facebook.
Yeah, and it's on your to-do list, right? Like I wouldn't be super like, oh, I have to have it done by January 1st when I launch. Like I would
Right.
not be that like that. But it does need to be something like, oh, okay, I've got an extra 30 minutes right now. Let me kind of play with this, or let me, like it needs to be something that as you go and as your business starts to grow, at some point you have, right? Um,
Yeah.
but right now it's more about getting the practice. It like that
Yeah.
is the most important piece right now is the working with clients and getting that practice so you do know what you're doing and so you can figure it out as you go. And that word
Yeah.
of mouth and making sure those clients are happy is what's going to continue that ball rolling.
Great. Yeah. Because I do have about 3 or 4 other leads that I think I followed up enough. Like, I mean, probably no more than twice. Can you follow up?
Well, it depends on, are they messaging you back at all, or is it crickets, or like the other day
Um,
I was coaching one of the girls from the membership, and we were talking, and she said, so I have these two people, and she starts trying to explain to me, and I was like, well, just screenshot it to me so I can like read what the actual conversation has been from the thread in Facebook.
yeah.
And just by her reaching out again after it had been the weekend, and I helped her with like kind of the wording of just, of it being like, hey, pretty much I'm reaching back out for your own benefit. Like, I just wanted to make sure, because I know life gets crazy busy, like making it kind of like that, like that, you're super understanding and that they are just so busy, but you just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure and like reach back out. Both of them booked their consultations with her.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah. I had one that reached out based off of a post and we went back and forth. She was super excited. She told me that she had someone that helped her out last year. And to say it nicely, she had a lot of thoughts and comments about my clutter. And then so she said, I loved your help. And I just said, I'm sorry someone made you feel that way. My approach is judgment free. And so that was back on November 12th. And then on November 22nd, I reached out again to try to get a consultation. And she did reply. She goes, yeah, phone consultation would be great. So then I said, that'd be great. And I gave her a suggestion of a date and then nothing. And then just on Monday, I realized I did one more. I said, I realized I never gave you my phone number. Here it is. Call me when you're ready to get started so we can work in your home together.
Yeah,
So,
which is great because of the way that it kind of lingered, right? Like she's just not
right,
ready yet. She'll come back around. The way that
right.
I kind of reach back out to those clients, so I put them in a separate tab, which, okay, so back up. One thing is next time as she's excited and you're talking, go ahead and get it on a phone call. Like forget Messenger, go ahead and be like, "Hey, so,
Can you
I'm
talk?
available right now. Yeah, can we just go ahead and talk about this? I would love to chat with you if you're available right now." And
Okay.
if you're able to, without being too pushy, get her information, like her phone number, because what I do is I go on Canva like a couple times a year, like a 4th of July special or, a holiday special. And I send out to everyone in my phone that I have put the word consultation next to this little like, photo thing I've made that kind of like you would post on Facebook. And I posted on
Right.
Facebook actually, and tell everybody. But I specifically send it one by one to each person that I've ever had a consultation with in my phone, just to let them know, hey, I've got a deal going on. I do not do it
Okay.
more than like 2 or 3 times a year. I don't blow their phone up and stress them out.
Yeah, that's a great piece of advice is to try to get off of Messenger as quick as possible and get contact info.
Yeah.
That's a great,
Yeah.
that's
Just
great.
because once they can have a conversation with you, you become a real person. Like you're no longer just texts that are on your phone. All of a sudden they have a rapport with you. And even if out of that conversation, you don't get the actual consultation just yet, when they do get to a point where they're ready, you will be the first person that comes to mind. Or if a friend of theirs is like, oh, I really need help organizing or decluttering, you will come to mind, and then they will tell their friend about you. So even if you don't get a consultation from them, all because you've had that conversation, now you've planted that seed that'll grow at some point down the line.
That's great. Okay.
Yay. Well, I am so excited, and this has been so much fun. I truly hope that you will come and join us in the membership. So make sure to go to proorganizerscoach.com or look in the show notes for all of the information about the community. And again, like my goal in all of this is just exactly what you're hearing today and what this episode has been is we all need community. Like we are all so alone in this journey of building our professional organizing businesses or running our professional organizing businesses, and we don't have that community. And so that is what I am building, is the coaching and the community that the ones of us in this industry desperately need, in my opinion. So we, because it's no fun to feel so alone, like the times that you're excited and you did a really good job with a client, or, you are stressing and you have a question, like, who do you go to? Who do you talk to? How, before we had this call, like Jill was feeling stressed and, kind of anxious about how yesterday went. Did it go good? Did it not? How does she know? And now she knows, from someone who's been doing this for years, it went exactly as it should. Everything's the way it's supposed to be going. And hey, here are some other tips of how to continue down the path of building your business. And so, again, that's my goal for the community. And so I really hope that you will come join us in that. And again, Jill, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me and for all your great advice.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Pro Organizers Coach podcast. If you've gotten any value from today's episode, be sure to subscribe to our podcast and leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps us grow, and it warms my heart to hear from you. And make sure to stay connected with us on socials at Pro Organizers Coach. Then go to proorganizerscoach.com to find all the ways that we can help you succeed in your business. You have the power to make a difference in people's lives through decluttering and organization. Keep honing your skills, embracing those challenges, and fostering connections within our organizing community. Progress will come with every step, so keep pushing forward and you will achieve your dreams. Girl, you've got this.